was already did
Well,
I know, I probably told.
We have not seen her new house since they moved in 20.
Our live audience, our in-person audience is really trickling off.
So,
We are so glad to have somebody to talk to.
Yeah, so,
But I haven't been able to get a hold of them. I texted, left a message for Jordan. They had said at Christmas time that their spring break, they wanted to go somewhere. But Kara said she's talked to them since. And they're not doing that. Not sure why. But I found out that that's this, we were thinking, I was thinking we were talking. It was said at Christmas time that their spring break was time. But I didn't know for sure when Leonard's vacation was. So here's the same week. So if they're gonna be home.
I like to keep Valentine's Day simple. I don't want a lot of gifts. What I would really appreciate is maybe restocking our pantry, going to Costco for me, getting some toilet paper, putting it on the toilet paper dispenser, maybe doing the dishes, putting them away in the right spots though, folding the laundry, condo fold, and putting it away. I mean, just help around the house would be great, but it has to be done right, or it's not really a gift. I do like some chocolates, but you just have to get me those one chocolates that I like. You know the ones. You know, right? Only those.
Oh, for goodness sake, don't go spending your money on me like that. Flowers are pricey. Oh, if you do, I guess half a dozen carnations would more than do it. You're sweet to ask. Oh, Valentine's Day is fun. It is fun. What do I want? I would love the chance to make my husband his favorite frittata in bed. He's just so excited, the way his eyes light up when I come in with the tray. You know, I'd get some essential oils going for him because it helps with those morning headaches that he tends to get. And after that, I can think of no more romantic way to spend the day than watching his favorite basketball team compete for hours on end. Swoosh romance.
Okay, so for Valentine's Day, I'm hoping that my husband plans out my perfect day to my exact specifications, but it's a total surprise to me so that my reaction is completely genuine. I know that I'm asking a lot, but I don't feel like it's too much. I would like the day to start with a beautiful bouquet of ranunculus. I love ranunculus because not everybody gets those. I don't want roses. No. Ranunculus is where it's at. Plus it's fun to say, ranuncula. Obviously I'll have breakfast served to me in bed with a mimosa first, and then I'll have my keto-friendly omelet with gluten-free toast and avocado.
I mean, I guess I would want to start the day just by spending some time enveloped in meditative silence, looking into one another's eyes, saying everything without saying anything. And then after we enjoy a cup of herbal tea, I'd like to go outside and recite poetry to one another as we gather wildflowers together. It will be the end of winter, but the beginning of spring, the perfect time for butterbur, maybe some primrose, greater stitchwort. And then we'll take those flowers and press them together in the pages of a book so that we kill them but on purpose, thus immortalizing them. Well, to be honest with you, Valentine's Day is not my favorite holiday for a number of reasons. It has roots, of course, as everybody knows, in the Roman festival of Lupercalia, which was held in mid-February. And of course, it included fertility rites and the pairing off of women with men by lottery. I mean, it was quite barbaric. And it wasn't until the 5th century, I believe, as everybody knows, that Pope Gelasius replaced it with what we now call St. Valentine's Day. But since, you know, the contemporary Valentine's Day holiday is widely accepted as a way to celebrate love and affection, I guess what I would like is for breakfast, lunch, and dinner to be delivered to me via courier. And I would not like to leave the confines of my living room for the entire day. Netflix and chill Valentine's edition.
For Valentine's Day, really don't care where we go for dinner. I just want to know where we're going ahead of time so that I can read the menu and plan out what I'm going to have, and I can take a look at the Yelp reviews and make sure I know what to expect and that everything is going to be okay. For a box of chocolates, I don't want anything made at home or handmade in someone else's kitchen. I'd rather have like Russell Stover or Whitman's chocolates, like sealed shut with a menu label that I can pick out which ones I want, because I don't like the caramel. It's too hard on my crowns. Strawberry filled, eat that one. Coconut, avoid that one. Nobody ever has to be subjected to a coconut filled chocolate again.
Flowers or chocolate? Yes and yes. And I'd like them both in the car while I'm blindfolded on the way to the airport. Do I want to know where we're going? I do not! Throw me in first class. Give me something bubbly, don't care what, and take me somewhere. Let's do this. Napa, Vegas, Hawaii, Morocco, Fiji, Antarctica. Don't care, down to ride. Oh, for a present? Oh, I'm not picky. I mean, I would love just about anything for a Valentine's Day present. I'd take a goldfish, a guinea pig, a litter of feral kittens, a new German shepherd. Always wanted to breed horses. A baby sheep would be totally rad. Would consider raising a camel under the right circumstances.
I don't really care about Valentine's Day, to be totally honest. And if we must, I suppose just brunch at my favorite place. Maybe a gift card for some coffee. Actually, what would be great for me for Valentine's Day is a hotel room by myself for 24 hours. I can just power through work and get caught up on emails, maybe organize some photos on my computer. That would just take a huge weight off of me, and that would be really, really nice. The last thing I want is an original poem or song. Not necessary. Chocolates would be great, but I'm going to spend 4 hours working them off. But I spend 4 hours in the gym anyway, so that's fine. Just give me the chocolates.
Oh, flowers or chocolate? Gosh, either. Whatever you've got time for is totally fine with me. Don't go out of your way. If you're driving by a gas station on the way home and they've got Russell Stovers, just grab it. That's good with me. Oh, please. I'm sorry. Please don't ask me where I want to go to dinner. This was kind of a whole thing last year. My husband kept asking me where I wanted to go, and I kept saying, I just want to go where you want to go. And he said, no, I want to go where you want to go. And those are the most aggressive words I've ever heard. I legitimately want whatever it is you want to get me. That sounds perfect. Whatever you're thinking of, don't say it. Think it, hold it here. That's what I want. What you just thought.
So tonight we're looking into the Enneagram 3 and also doing a little bit of a deeper dive into wings. Okay, we'll start with wings. As we've taught before, the Enneagram is a theory that's been taught verbally from teacher to student over centuries. And it's understandable that nuances within the Enneagram, this complex theory, are going to be varying depending on the teacher. So we do see little variations in the details of the Enneagram. One area where this is evident is on the topic of wings. So here's what all teachers agree upon. Wings are the numbers that reside directly on the two sides of your Enneagram type. So if you're an Enneagram 1, you're either going to have a 9 wing or a 2 wing. And if you're an Enneagram 2, it'll either be 1 or 3, and so on. And now that we have that down, let's dive into what your wing actually means. Now, essentially, a wing represents another part of your personality that you identify with that works in harmony with your type. So if you're an Enneagram 7 with an 8 wing, you likely primarily demonstrate the tendencies of an Enneagram 7, but some behaviors may also lean toward an Enneagram 8. Your wing doesn't change your type. It adds different characteristics to it that may separate you from someone else with your same type, but with the opposite wing. Your wing behaviors may complement or even contradict your main type, but that's okay. That's what makes you a well-rounded human being. An example of that are the obvious differences between an 8 and a 9. So an 8 with a 9 wing, that's a little counterintuitive to understand how that works, or a 9 with an 8 wing, but those are combinations that exist. So now I'll share with you some theories that not all teachers agree about. It's not meant to confuse you, just to give you some prompts to inspire your thinking as you observe your own behavior and impulses with curiosity. Some teachers believe that you have one wing throughout your life and that's it. Some teachers believe that you have one wing in the first half of life and that you add the other wing in the second half of life. Now, for myself, I don't get discouraged that there's no definitive answer about what my wing is, no matter what time and what season in life. It does inspire my thinking to know that these different theories exist as I look at my own life with curiosity and say, I do recall that my husband has told me a lot that I care too much what other people think of me. But I also observe that it's been a long time since he's told me that. And today in my home, everybody would say, Mom needs a lot of time to herself, and there comes a point in every day where she's going to run out of conversation. So the first, caring what other people think about me, is 3 stuff, and I'm a 4. And the part where I run out of conversation and run out of energy to be with people is 5 stuff. So maybe that's an example of me adding the other wing in the other half of life. Still, other teachers believe that you have access to both wings throughout your adult life. Now, this is compelling. This theory is compelling in that the Enneagram is a tool for personal growth. And we know that just languishing in your specific type isn't the healthiest choice. We don't just want to stay there. We need to find ways to release ourselves from the shackles of fear, anger, and shame, and we need to make a conscious effort to pull up our repressed centers of intelligence. So one example would be that 1s, 2s, and 6s need to find resources to do their best, most productive thinking. 4s, 5s, and 9s need to remind themselves to get started working and also to finish the job that they've started. And 3s, 7s, and 8s need not to just be aware and sensitive to the feelings of others, but to acknowledge, name, and honor their own. Accessing the other numbers on the Enneagram, accessing the other numbers on the Enneagram with which our number resonates and relates is a great way to do this. So as a 4, I'm doing repressed. But if I can access that 3 wing, or my stress and security numbers of 2 and 1, they aren't doing repressed. Can I tap into the energy of those numbers that relate to mine and do well the work that is mine to do? Lori's in the anger triad, but she can find joy in her security number of 7. And even in her stress number of 4, that might allow her to see beyond the anger to what's behind it, maybe other emotions, sadness or worry or embarrassment or apprehension, because better understanding what she's experienced will better arm her to handle it with grace and efficiency, probably. Let's see. I think we'll go on to the Enneagram 3 portion. Now, usually I do some teaching first before I go to the bullet points, but I think my teaching might be more effective if we do the bullet points and the parts from the reading first. Now, the common characteristics of the 3 is that they're goal setters, they're ambitious, they're great problem solvers, energetic, highly driven and striving. They're confident and they're image conscious. They're afraid of failure and they can be workaholics. One descriptor in the book is that they're attention seeking, but I wonder if credit seeking is a better descriptor because they just want acknowledgement for what they're doing well. At their worst, they're self-serving, but at their best, they're optimistic dreamers and they inspire and bring out the best in those around them. So along with the 2s and 4s, 3s are in the shame triad, sometimes called the heart triad. It means that they're feeling dominant. And all those in the shame or feeling triad believe they can't be loved unconditionally. So all of us, 2s, 3s, and 4s, create a false persona to try to earn the love and acceptance that they crave. They're in the assertive or aggressive stance along with 7s and 8s. So this means they're oriented to the future, always thinking and striving for something out there in time. They're feeling repressed. Now, you've heard me say that 3s are feeling dominant and feeling repressed. That's one of the idiosyncrasies, I don't know, it's one of the qualities of that inner triangle that Audrey asked about one week. That's the 3, 6, and 9 that are supposed to be dominant and repressed in the same center. The way I've heard 3s described is that they're very in tune and taking the temperature of everybody else's feelings, but then they sometimes confuse them for their own because they want to serve the feelings that are present in others, I guess. And then the other thing about the aggressive stance that 3s, 7s, and 8s experience is that they move against others or stand alone. Moving against doesn't necessarily mean adversarial, can be, but mostly what it means is they see where they want to go, and every step they take is a direction toward where they want to be, what they want to achieve. And sometimes they can be unaware or unconcerned with the obstacles that they face. The fear of the 3 is of being worthless, and they're motivated by being affirmed by impressing others. So let me now address the drive that 3s have to win or to be the best. Sometimes you hear 3s say, well, what's wrong with earning your belt by being the best? What's wrong with trying hard and achieving? There's nothing. Somebody has to be the winner. We usually say somebody has to be the loser, but somebody does have to be the winner too in a contest. Well, as with many spiritual matters, it's really the heart motivation behind it that can be the problem. Here's the thing. If you're trying to earn your worth by being the best, then that requires a world in which others are worth less than you, right? Like the ones you beat in order to be worthy, doesn't that make them worth less in that world? So that's kind of ouch. The deadly sin or passion of the 3 is deceit, and they deceive themselves as much as they deceive others. If a person hasn't done their reading, I might need to do a little bit of explanation there. So because they're bringing out the qualities in themselves that they believe you want to see, there's a little bit of inauthenticity there. It's not quite honest if you're posing as an expert or somebody who's really passionate about something only because they believe that the company they keep are also passionate about it. The wings of the 3 would be the 2 or the 4. The direction and stress are the unhealthy qualities of the 9, and the direction and security are the positive qualities of the 6. Some things that I thought were interesting from the reading is that the first one is more advice for those of us who are in relationship with 3s. It's good for us to remember that it's wrong of us to ask 3s to use their gifts to grow our companies or to chair our fundraisers and then criticize them afterwards for being inauthentic. The gifts that they brought to it are exactly, the thing that we're criticizing them for afterwards. I also thought it was so interesting on 139, there was a story of parents praising their kids that grew up to be 3s, praising their kids for their many achievements. Never once did those parents say, we'll only love you if you succeed, but somehow that was the message the kids got. And who of us isn't glad when our kids do well, and who doesn't tell them so? A friend of mine who is a 3 said, she told me, well, my parents didn't really praise me when I tried hard. They praised me when I was successful. 3s can benefit from a kind but strong friend who will call them back to their authentic selves when they stray. Couldn't we all? If you might be a 3 and you notice inauthenticity in your own behavior and you want to work on that issue, you can start by noticing what is consistent about you from group to group. Oftentimes threes, they'll have their church friends, their work friends, their college friends, the parents of their children, their children's friends. And threes in particular might behave differently from group to group based on what the passions and the values of that group are. But there's something about you threes, the kernel of which is your authentic self. So take what is consistent from group to group and build on that. I thought that was wonderful advice. And to remember, threes, success is great if the person responsible for it is the real you. Okay. So today we meet with our Enneagram threes, a little bit of my own teaching then from various sources. Sometimes the threes are called performers, sometimes achievers. And at first glance, it can be hard to tell a 1 and a 3 apart. They both want to do well, but 1s do it to satisfy an inner critic, and 3s do it to satisfy what they think others want. Suzanne Stabile says that another difference is that 3s want to get the job done and move on. So that means they're willing to sometimes cut corners in order to be more efficient. And 1s never will because of their desire to do things the right way and their integrity that makes them stick to the right way. Stabile also says that 3s never like to hear the Enneagram teaching on their number. Taking a deep, honest look at our shadow side is enough to make any of us squirm, and we've all got the shadow side. But it does mean holding the light up to plenty that can't be prettied up or glossed up or spit shined, and that's a bummer for 3s, because they're very image conscious. It's important to them. They want to appear successful and impressive. And it's said that 3s can be a bit of a chameleon, like I was mentioning before, behaving a little bit differently with the different groups that they're in. And by the way, 3s don't see that as phony. They see it as giving you what you want. I thought that was profound. One of the best parts of learning the Enneagram is the compassion that you grow for each of the other types. Now, Joel Stabile is Suzanne's son, and he's a regular voice on her podcast, The Enneagram Journey. And he offered this particular bit of wisdom and compassion for the Enneagram 3. And I would like to hang on to it and also pass it along. 3s, at first glance, might sometimes appear selfish. They're wanting the accolades, they're wanting the credit, they're wanting to bring out the qualities from within themselves in order to gain your approval and even your admiration. But there's actually a real selflessness to it as well. They're putting aside, unconsciously or consciously, they're putting aside and even denying themselves their true passions and opinions and values in order to give you what you want. And that's something I try to remember when interacting with a 3. So our 3 guest today is one of our own. It's Rose Shetler-Miller, and we're going to invite her up right now to be a part of the next part of teaching. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you.
Whoa. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience with the Enneagram? How long have you known about it, and where'd you do your learning?
Yeah, so I don't know the year when I first heard about it or started reading about it, but it's been quite a lot of years ago. I had done some reading from several different books, and when Tina Slaybaugh was here as pastor, she did I don't remember if it was a one-time thing or a series, but just kind of an overview of each of the types. So I attended that. Then about 5 years ago, I attended a day-and-a-half workshop in Chicago by the authors of this book. So, and it was, I hadn't remembered this, but it was right as this book came out in 2016, so about 5.5 years ago or so. And that experience was a little more in depth, and I remember that's when I became more sure, kind of, what my type was, though I remember wanting to study it more before I claimed a 3 completely. And then the end of 2020, when I joined a group of consultants, part of the onboarding process for new consultants was to take a really extensive Enneagram assessment called the IEQ-9. And one of the partner consultants was trained in it, so he met with me afterwards to interpret it and to go over the results with me. And that confirmed that thinking I was a 3 was indeed correct. And I was really grateful for that because I still hadn't really taken the time to dig further. I mean, I had read some more out of the book, but to really set time aside to figure it out for sure, I hadn't taken the time to dig into the book to be more certain. So that assessment was really helpful.
How extensive was it?
You know,
I mean, was
I
it a
don't
written
remember.
test?
It was online, but it was very long, like pages and pages. It wasn't like I'd done these little short things online before, and it was a lot more extensive. And I don't remember how many questions, but it was, it's supposed to be really accurate. So.
Great. And was it easy for? Oh, maybe you weren't finished with one.
Yeah, I'm finished.
Was it easy for you to discern your type then?
Well, by that time, that was confirming to me. But before that, I would not say it was easy. There are several that I thought I might be, and so I'd kind of go back and forth. And I think for me, at least, there's, and it's maybe this way for all the types, but there's some natural resistance because it's all based on this false self, this shadow side, or besetting sin, depending what book you're reading, or alter ego, it's sometimes called, that you build as a small child. So it can really be hard to admit these negative things. And if you've done any other kind of assessment, the Myers-Briggs, the Strength Finders, DISC, Taylor Core Values Index, all of those start with the premise of your strengths. And the Enneagram, you have to face up to the opposite. But I also think that's what makes it one of the most freeing things, is because you learn to identify your true and authentic self by first understanding what you've built as sort of your facade or defense mechanism.
Yeah, I agree. Do you recognize your 3-ness in your childhood?
Definitely.
Tell me all about that.
Well, that's probably how I figured it out, was to think back how I often felt as a child. And the childhood, I was looking at the book, and I don't know if they say it quite as succinctly. I think you can find it in the reading, but in the workshop, I was taking notes as furiously as I could, and I didn't get it down for all of the types, but a lot of them I have written. They said, what is the childhood message that you received, and what is the lost message that you needed that you didn't get? And that was really helpful. For the childhood message of a 3 is that it's not okay to have your own feelings and identity. And that's what I wrote in the notes. But in the book, I saw on page 137, it says you are what you do. Mm-hmm. It's how you perform, how well you get your work done, how well there's a very, very strong work ethic in my family. And I was sort of lost in the shuffle. I remember very clearly feeling like I didn't have a voice because, I think maybe family order contributed to this. I am in a family, 5 girls, and an older brother who's now passed away. But we were actually categorized as the big girls and the little girls. And I was the middle of the little girls. And, years later when I thought about this, I thought, that's the bottom rung, because the baby is always special, right? To be the middle of the little girls is about the lowest on the totem pole. And plus I had, older sisters who were very capable, and I just never, I remember especially the sister next to me, we played, we were together all the time, played, but it was always what she wanted to do. She always called the shots. And so, I love my family. They were kids. They didn't, I would say, if anything, my mother could have been better about sort of calling us out as individuals a little more. But my parents were both raised Amish. In the Amish culture, you are not, you're not individualistic whatsoever. It's all about family, community, and so, it's just the way it was. And but I remember feeling pretty lost, like I didn't quite know who I was or where I belonged. Also in my childhood, negative emotions like anger or crying were not okay, and the strong work ethic was how you gained approval. The lost message I didn't receive is you are loved for yourself, not what you do, which as an adult, I believe shows itself in you're not good enough, you can't do this, you don't have what it takes. And so there's this striving to make sure to do things well so that you'll be approved. You have to try really hard and work extra hard to do well and get it right.
Yeah.
So.
It almost makes me wonder, none of us really will know the answer, but I've had conversations with other people, an older generation than me, all of whom were brought up in a farming community, and who is getting the message that we value for, in that environment? Who's getting the message that we value you for who you are? Because people need to contribute in that kind of community. That's
exactly. I grew up on a farm, so very, very much that was part of it. And the thing that's interesting, though, Stabile says that much of this is formed by age 5. And she says, I guess I was thinking it's all pretty much environmental, but she thinks some of it is also genetic predisposition. Mm-hmm. So maybe a combination. But I was the baby of the family for 5 years. My youngest sister's 5 years younger than me. So maybe that's what kept me from completely going off the rails. Because I did have my
your special time.
Yeah, apparently. So I think maybe the struggle was I felt lost maybe when I was a little bit older than that. So anyway, it's interesting to think about.
I'd like to dig a little deeper into the 3 feeling their worth by what they do. Mm-hmm. Thank you. So if a 3 is so doing focused, I would think it'd be hard for you just to be. So where do you find contentment?
Yeah, that is a really good question. And I pondered that a while because now I absolutely love to just be. So I thought, maybe I have, like sometimes I think I'm maybe a bit of an unmotivated 3 when I'm left to my own devices. Or, maybe I'm a healthier 3 now that I'm not always striving or needing to prove myself in what I do. Like maybe I would have when I was younger. So I like to sit and think, read, write, listen to music, get on my bike. Those are things I really enjoy. And I think it could be that it's just exhausting to do and try to always make sure you're doing it well, and which is also why I thought for a while I might be a perfectionist, but there's other things that didn't fit. So, but it's this needing to perform that. So you work so hard and to do things well to gain approval. And maybe just as I've gotten older, I'm just kind of done with that racket. So I think I do maybe a lot better job of just being than what I used to.
So you talked about some of the things that you do. Is that what self-care looks like for you?
Oh, that's a good, that's a good point. Well, just to sit and be and think is not really doing, I mean.
But like bike riding, those
Yeah.
kinds of things, is that how you take
Yes,
care of yourself?
Yes, that's how I find that, just kind of to unwind or to just, I can put, work that needs to be done, I can put it off and just sit. So.
How do you handle conflict?
In conflict, it's easy for my feelings to be hurt and to get angry. I got angry as a child a lot, I remember. I remember chasing my sister around the house because she made me so mad, but that was not okay, with our parents. It was, you don't act like that. It wasn't like what's really wrong, what's really going on inside. Negative feedback can be devastating because I dwell on it. I kind of ruminate over it. And I don't know if affirmation is the love language of all threes, but it is for me. I really need affirmation, but sometimes I have trouble believing the affirmation, and I think that's just that kind of being hard on yourself, and am I really living up to expectations?
So I feel like as a one, with the people I'm safe with, they may get my anger. The people I'm not as sure about, they may not get it.
Yeah.
I wonder as a three, when you have that conflict, as a performer, do the people that you don't know as well or you're not as safe with, do they get your true feelings?
Yeah, that's a really good point. No, not as much. I mean, I would, with people that I don't know as well, or like people at work, it'd be more likely that I would go off, like go to the restroom and cry or something, than, to get angry to them. But yeah, with the people I know and love the best, I tend to get angry the easiest.
I can definitely relate to that.
Yeah.
So the threes are in an interesting situation in America, which is called the country of threes sometimes, because we really value that performance. We really value, as a nation, doing and performing well. So especially in a country where the social media is such a big presence, and everybody's concerned with image and getting likes and clicks, how do you deal with that part of the society?
Well, being a three doesn't keep me off social media. Unfortunately, I mean, I probably should be off a little more than I am. So I guess what I'm saying, my concern about how I'm perceived doesn't keep me. I mean, I pretty much, I stick my neck out more than some people would. But I do ruminate about posts sometimes, or I'll find myself editing something I posted, probably way more than most people would. Yeah. And then I'm like, oh no, can people see all the different edits? Sometimes it's punctuation, sometimes it's just the way I worded things. It's like, that's so three. I mean, yeah.
I bet ones and threes edit their posts.
Maybe. So I don't think I do things impulsively, but I do sometimes maybe say more than what would be prudent. But I don't know. I'm also not a big conflict avoider, so, bring it on. Let's talk about it. If you disagree with me, I kind of enjoy that. But
I kind of want to take a little detour here because do you think that a three would keep their nose clean and keep out of things?
Yeah, so when I was reviewing these questions, that came up for me. Like the example I thought of is like kind of putting yourself out there to do something that you're not real confident in, or you're not sure if you're quite competent. So wouldn't threes wouldn't they say no because They don't want to look incompetent ever. I mean, that's the worst nightmare. I don't think I'm like that, and I was wondering, what does that mean? I think that's where it's really helpful to go to the underlying motivation. Because somebody with the same type can have two completely different behaviors, and you're like, what's that about? Well, I think if you go to what's the motivation behind it, then you see the commonality. So, like if I would, okay, I'll do that because you're expecting me to, and because I'm responsible. By gum, I'm not going to let anybody down. On StrengthsFinders, responsibility is really high for me. So maybe there's some other things that factor in here, but I would probably do it because people are counting on me, and I don't want them to feel badly for me. Well, do you see the same motivation on both of those behaviors? The 1-3 might, I'm never going to do something that would make me look stupid. The other 3 might say, sure, I'll do it because I don't want to let you down, and you're expecting me to, and I think I can, I'll do it. Mm-hmm. But underneath both of those is, I care so much what you think of me. So does that kind of get at you?
Yeah.
You had a little different example, but you were talking about.
I wonder, there was something that you said that maybe made me wonder if you thought 3s would stay out of conflict.
Conflict, yeah.
And I wondered if you were trying to please your Mennonite community who would value staying out of conflict.
Yeah. That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think that I ever identified or wondered if I was a 9, though. But that might have been. Yeah, they say that a 3, it's very hard for a 3 to come to accept that they're a 3, because they don't like to face up to all the negative things. And
the Enneagram is really honest about the flaws, and that's hard for 3s,
yeah.
When I think of conflict, the 3s that I work with are so good at reading the emotions of the room that I feel like they can work through conflict before you even know it's a thing sometimes. Do you feel like you have the ability to kind of prevent conflict by reading the emotions of others?
I think I can read a room pretty well and get a pretty good sense of what's happening. I don't know if it necessarily helps me avoid it. But maybe, it might help me manage things so that it doesn't turn into conflict. Yeah, I can kind of see that.
Yeah, I'm always impressed by that. What feels like love to you?
When I'm seen for who I am and not just what I do, and when someone really sees me and affirms who I am, that's love for me. And as an adult, I would say the thing that has helped me the most with that has been just getting into my soul and spirit, just letting it sink in very deeply that I'm a beloved child of God. That's really been crucial for me to becoming a healthier 3.
Do you have any special spiritual practices that you do to explore that?
Yeah, meditation. There's body prayers and things like that I really enjoy doing.
What's your favorite part about being a 3?
Well, I would say that I like that I care about others and I want to help people succeed. So I wonder if I'm a 2 wing. I haven't quite sorted out my wing yet, but and I really like that I have a can-do attitude and make things happen and can get things done. I mean, my kids have, written on cards that they've given me that's something they appreciate about me. So that kind of, I guess, helped me notice it. And Yeah, on page 135, this really jumped out at me. Right before I was getting into this group of consultants, I highlighted this and put the date down. It says, they're generous and wise and often volunteer their considerable skills to helping organizations be more effective at achieving their mission. And I put like 2 exclamation points because that's exactly what I endeavor to do as a consultant. So, that's a favorite thing too about being a 3.
And what do you wish others knew about what it's like to be a 3?
Yeah, I love that question. First of all, I resonate with achiever more than performer. I mean, both of those descriptors are used because when I think of performer, I think of really liking the spotlight. And I know it doesn't actually mean that. It means performing the way you think other people want you to be, so I understand that. Maybe persona is a better word than performer, wanting to have the right persona. I don't particularly like to be in the spotlight, or at least not if it's a hot seat spotlight. My worst fear is having a lot of questions fired at me and that I might get tripped up on, because then I'd look incompetent. So I think I'm better at being a wing woman. I've heard that term recently. I like it. Being a wing woman, coming alongside someone else. Unless I know I can be completely competent, then I'm okay being in the spotlight.
Well, then we're extra grateful that you're willing to be here tonight. Thank you.
Yeah.
When all the numbers gather, what do you bring to the table? What is your superpower?
I will help the group to set a goal and formulate a plan and discover the steps it takes to get there. That's what I would bring.
That's great. Well, as usual, we thank you for being so vulnerable. As usual, we want to handle all that's been shared tonight from our guest with care and respect. Thank you very much. And we'll turn our attention now to Lori and her spiritual growth stuff.
Thank you for having me.
Content, sorry.
For those of you in relationships with 3s, or think you might be in a relationship with 3s, know this. 3s can be great friends, coworkers, or spouses. My closest coworker is a 3, and I could not love her more. 3s have a lot of energy. They work hard to get things done. They're often warm, funny, and enthusiastic, and they are in tune with the feelings of others around them, so they can be very empathetic. Their core desire is to be successful, admired, and respected, and they will work hard to show you the face that allows them to get that need met. Be aware that you may not always be seeing the 3's behind the 3's big personality to their heart. To reach the core of the 3 and help them feel loved, remember that they often equate work with self-worth. So be appreciative of all they do. Be gentle and kind with any constructive criticism you may need to give, because their hearts are sensitive. If a 3 is in the zone of their work, give them time and space to do that. Keep their living space calm, clean, and organized. This helps their busy minds feel calmer. Work to help them create an intentional day of rest away from work or projects. Tell them you're proud of them, and then give specific reasons why. The 3 needs words of affirmation. They need words to know that you love or respect them, not just the actions. I appreciate you affirming that too when you were talking. Be willing to engage in problem solving with them. Having a goal can help them feel more at ease. Help them to process their feelings. Remember, they're good at feeling everyone else's feelings, but not always their own. And then let them know that you love and respect them because of who they are, not for what they do. if you are a 3, some areas of growth. In the shame triad where the 3 resides, it may be that they often feel like, I'm not good enough. The 2 adds to this shame, unless I'm always helping others. The 4 may add, unless I'm truly authentic. And the 3 may add to that shame, unless I'm doing good things, great things. 3s may drive themselves to play a part where it's hard for them to separate themselves from the role they're playing. They have a great radar for inauthenticity, except in their own heart. And because of that, they may often feel misunderstood and lonely. It's important for 3s to find ways to identify and feel their feelings. This might be by processing with someone else, a partner, a friend, a therapist, a spiritual director. It will also come by practicing honesty and authenticity. It's also important for the 3 to release the need to always be in control. It's important for them to get the job done, for it to look good, but sometimes they may need to give someone else control. Consider that it's good to sometimes be the one who's just involved, not in charge. Not in charge. Listen carefully. Watch your motives and help others to succeed. Just being involved gives your mind and body a break from having to constantly produce results. Because 3s work so hard to be great at everything, they can find themselves exhausted. They need to make sure they pay attention to self-care, especially physical needs, and learn to relax. 3s, learn to accept unmerited or unearned appreciation, expressions of affection. It's okay to be loved and appreciated for who you are, not just for what you do. Threes, you show us the image of God by being hardworking, competent leaders who want to give their best. You are superheroes. You do so many things well. You see what can be and pull us along with your vision. Let yourself believe that you've done enough. You've probably done more than enough. Take that thought with you. Maybe I've done enough. So we have a few minutes for questions, if anybody would like to ask any questions.
I bet we can share this.
Yeah. Maybe, is it on?
Rose, I'm glad to see you here tonight. And, we work together on the finance committee of Indiana Michigan Mennonite Conference. And so at first when you said, I want to introduce our 3 tonight, I was a little bit surprised. And then I thought, well, Rose has come over to the healthy side of 3. That's what I think. Because I've never noticed times when she was just trying to do things and just avoiding herself, just trying to do things for others and avoiding herself. It seemed to me Rose always took in account everyone, in the room, and I appreciate that. So it was good to see you here, and I thought she must be a healthy 3. That last slide that had the big 3 in the middle, I said, that's Rose. My question comes from the book when they were talking about Andre Agassi. Now, he was a tennis player who I admired. He's a left-hander, and I'm left-handed. And so he's one of my favorite tennis players. But the book talked about the fact that he was performing tennis from a very little age, a very small age, right through his entire career and never loved tennis at all. And it was coming from his father, what his father made him do. So my question is, now when he wrote his book called Open, probably from, the many opens he plays in tennis, I was wondering, is he still a 3? It seems it was inferred that he was a 3 because he needed to be because of the pressure from his father, but he seemed to have come out of it. Or do you come out of your number?
Isn't it just a step toward health for a 3 to realize they've been performing in such a way in order to please people? Once they realize, I'm not going to do that anymore, it seems like a step toward health, but
Okay.
not toward a different number for a 3. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess. So that's his step toward health, but he still remains a 3.
You don't, the theory is you do not change your number, you just move closer to or further away from health.
And also in stress, then it shows up again a little more. I mean, don't you move toward your
Yeah,
healthy side when you're under stress?
that inner triangle is always hard for me to think about. Do you know what your stress or security numbers? It's 3 and 6, but I don't know which is which.
She moves toward 9.
Oh, sorry, 6 and 9.
moves toward 9.
Yeah, 6 and 9.
Yeah,
You move to 9
in
in
stress.
stress. And to 6 in health. Yeah. I suppose that could show up in lots of different ways depending on the individual.
Yeah.
Do you have things to add to that, Lori?
I just think that you can be a performer and an achiever in a healthy way, like you said
Yeah.
for Rose. So he may still have those qualities in his life. He's just doing it for different reasons now, not because doing things because his father expected him to do, doing things that he hates because his father expected him to. Maybe he's doing things now that he wants to do, but
Yeah.
he would still, I would think if he's truly a 3, still have those qualities of achieving, doing things well.
Yeah, I was amazed that he could become such a great player and didn't like tennis at all.
Yeah.
Okay, my last question. So you talk about stances a lot, and I'm not sure I see that in the book.
No, they talk about triads, but not stances.
This is for free.
Yeah, and I do see it on the bookmarker.
Yes.
About these stances, but I don't find them in the book, and so I
So
need to.
Suzanne Stabile especially, I couldn't vow that Ian Cron talks about it a lot in his podcast, but Suzanne Stabile talks about it a lot in her podcast, and I listen to those
Yeah,
regularly.
okay.
And it's been so meaningful to me that I shoehorn it in to our lessons
Yes.
here, even though it's not brought up in
Right,
the book.
it does add a lot, but I was just wondering why I wasn't seeing it in the book.
Yeah, I'm not sure why they, it's obviously meaningful to Suzanne Stabile, so I'm not sure why it didn't make it in the book.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes.
Anybody else want to process with us a little bit or have a question, a direct question? Come on up, Jan.
Testimony time.
Question about the performing part. I'm trying to follow the rule of not putting a number on people that I know, but
Yeah.
a coworker, I think he could be a 3. And you said from the performer is not really always somebody that likes to stand in front of a crowd. Is that sometimes? Is that always? Is the word performing in this sense like different than? Is that filling the need of somebody else, or is it? What does it mean exactly?
Well, I think that what you said about the other word being achiever, I think is important. So a performer means that, as I understand it, that they want to do what they're going to do well. It doesn't mean necessarily they're going to do it in a public way, but anything that they do, they want to do well.
Or could it also be they do like to be in front of?
Sure.
Yes.
Sure.
And it could, and it's, I don't know that this goes along perfectly with that, but they do say that any type can be an introvert or an extrovert. In some ways, it's a little bit hard to imagine an extroverted 5. That's the only one I really have a question about. The others, I think I could see. But as far as wanting to be kind of the star, I think that kind of goes along with introvert, extrovert a little bit, maybe. And were you, Jan, I was wondering, did I hear you say something about the performing arts? So like, or were you just talking about the spotlight in general?
More like a spotlight or public speaking. Like if
Yeah.
you're good at public speaking, you enjoy being in front of the crowd.
Right.
Does that mean you're maybe a 3 or do many other personality types have that as well?
I think any personality type could be a public speaker. Some may enjoy it more than others, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised though, Jan. I mean, like, I think that's a reasonable question to ask if what you're seeing in your coworker could be pointing to a 3 as one option. Yeah. Anybody else? Come on up, Rose.
I just wanted to add a little bit yet about the deadly sin of deceit. And you touched on this, and I just want to say it again in case it's confusing, because it was really confusing to me at first. I was like, I don't have a lying bone in my body. What does this mean? And in fact, as a child, I was deathly, over the norm scared of telling a lie, because it was like hellfire and brimstone to anybody who uttered a lie, even if it was unintentional. So that was one of my fears as a child. And even as an adult, I'm pretty transparent, and I'm kind of a full disclosure kind of person. So what does this mean about deceit? And, I finally realized through the book and the study, and you mentioned it tonight too, that it's not actively lying. There's 2 parts to it. The one is deceiving myself by believing that I am the false self that I'm trying to, please everyone else with. And the other is being deceptive to others by not showing my authentic self and trying to project an image that I think others want and that gets approval. So even projecting an image that's transparent and real, So there's all these different layers that, partly I want to for sure come across as being transparent and real. So maybe that's even a performance that I put on.
That's an interesting viewpoint. Thank you. Anybody else? Our ending time is officially 8:15, but this isn't a hostage situation. We'll answer your questions if you have them. Well, next week we will talk about c'est moi, the 4, and do a deeper dive into the childhood experience. We'll look at that. Thank you for being here and giving us someone to talk to. See you next week.